toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Capital, Abuja, reaching you for the Global Morning on Global Television. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining us. An apology for a bit starting late. There are a lot of stories in the country, of course, the fact that yesterday the President held the Federal Executive Council meeting with the ministers and other members of the Executive Council in a bid to salvage the current economic situation in the country. And I've also been concerned by the president on how he can address the issues of disasters that have been so much of current situation now in the country. Looking at the flooding in the Maiduguri of Borno State, and looking at the incidences in other part of the country with respect to the current flooding that ravages the Nigeria's state. So the president has set up a committee in order to respond swiftly to these crises ravaging many states, and also the concern of economic was also on the issues on the table right just yesterday at the Federal Executive Council meeting. All of that was to highlight the issues from the presidency. And away from that, there are still echoes from Edo State with respect to the Saturday's 24th poll. There are a lot of reactions. Stakeholders are speaking. The observers who witnessed the election, like Young Africa, are also making comments on the issues and the observations they had for the election. The political parties, the PDP, the Labour Party are speaking, while the APC are saying, this is the mandate of the people. We've got the vote of the people. And of course, it was the will of the people. All of that is back and forth controversies, reactions that continue to trail the September 24th poll of Edo State. But by all indications, just as INEC had declared, Senator Monday of All Progressive Congress was returned elected as the governor of Edo State. We'll also be looking at that issues, and of course an international observer will be joining us very soon on the program to also highlight some of the observations that are witnessed during the course of the election. I'm not going to be doing that alone this morning. Have my co-host join us, Queen Ageba. Thanks so much, Queen. Good morning.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Absolutely glaring. I just felt probably you were the deputy governor-elect of Edo State. I don't know how you have been feeling right now, but the people of Edo are quite happy. Some part are happy, and then the other part are saying, oh, I mean, this is not what we voted for. You know, the back and forth in elections. As always, every after election is always a situation.
The contest for who actually won the election. People are debating and saying, you know what, my party did this, and then they're pointing irregularities as to the election. But we hope for the best for Edo State.
We always hope for the best, but away from that, we'll be looking at what really the papers are saying. There are a whole lot of reactions, just as I earlier stated. So we'll be looking at that very shortly on the program. Just stay with us, and once we return from the break, we get into the papers.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bonds, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Many thanks for staying with us on the morning show. We'll now get to the Nigerian newspaper this morning. First with News Direct. The big story coming from News Direct this morning. Edopo, PDP, LP, Yaga Africa. Others reject election result, demand review. Right to the story, it says it was not an election but a transaction. Akpata decries voter apathy and vote buying. Independent Observer Group raises concern over election integrity. A blatant example of state capture. Obi condemns election outcome. We also have a blackout in the material. Madagri has vandals destroy TCN Tower. And that's on page 9 of News Direct. We also have a Kogi Assembly accuses EFCC of assassination attempt on Governor Ododo, ex-Governor Bello. Reps to fast-track 2025 budget whistleblower protection bill and others on page 3 of the Nigerian News Direct. Lagos launches e-call-up system to alleviate truck traffic in Lekki-Epe. We also have a couple of other reactions as to our brand feature, UBA connecting individuals, businesses to global market. And that story is on page 5 of the Nigerian News Direct paper. And a couple of other reactions as to the election of Edo Apo. Persons are also really reacting to the situation in Edo, coming from the observations of Edo and the international observers. There are the fact that the Labour Party and PDP are insisting that probably the election didn't go down well. But let's get to others. We'll come back to that during our interaction. Over to you, Queen.
Our next paper would be the First Newspaper. We're bringing the First Newspaper for you. And the big story there says, Oni to Nigerians, be patient with Tinubu. That's just side by side with the nameplates. The Oni of Ife, Ogumusi, says that Nigerians should be patient with Tinubu. We have external reserves reach 22-month high at 37.31 billion naira, according to CBN. We also have court throws out suit seeking Ganduje sack as APC's chairman. 2027 election will be walkover for APC, vows ex-Senate President. FEC approves Citizens Brigade to combat declining moral standards in schools. Edo Goba election fallout. My mandate was brazenly stolen. Edos will trampled. Igodalo says LP's Akpata election went to the highest bidder. Yaga Africa poll failed integrity test. Peter Obi says state capture threatens democracy. And Ganduje, Obaseki's do or die remark caused Igodalo's defeat. PDP rejects result and sues APC. These are the stories we have on the front page of the First Newspaper. Michael Edikan will bring us our next point of call.
Of the Guardian newspaper. And now on the Guardian, the big story coming from the Guardian, non-profit businesses. Amid the low impact, over 174,100 new NGOs established in 4 years. That's on the front page. You can see the outline of 2019 to 2023, and all of that figures, data are confirming the 174,100 new non-governmental organizations established in 4 years. Now, after Edo, APC vows to clinch Ondo, Anambra, Rivers. That's on page 27 of the Guardian newspaper. Parties CSO seek INEC's review of Edo governorship election result. The UNGADA is the United Nations General Assembly. Nigeria demands Security Council seat. Page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. High exchange rate spikes price of cooking gas by 69.15% in 1 year. Nigerians spent 1.4 trillion naira on epileptic power. Viscos hold 385 billion naira. You can get that on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. EFCC ICPC accused lawmakers of executing constituency project through proxies. That is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. The ministers of finance budgets mourn over allegations of project duplication on page 6. Can actually get the papers to have more stories and in-depth analysis to that. But very lastly on the Guardian this morning, FEC OK's plan to strengthen national values system in schools. FEC OK's plan to strengthen national value system in school. That is on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. These has to do as part of the resolutions from the Federal Executive Council meeting just yesterday, where the president presided over. Of course, the vice president was away at the United Nations General Assembly. A couple of that where you can actually get the paper from your vendor from the website and get more in-depth analysis and data coming in from the Guardian newspaper this morning.
Our next point of call will be the Daily Independent, as we bring that for you. He says Ondo, not Edo, will protect our vote, says PDP candidate. Kogi Assembly seeks immediate sack of EFCC chairman Olukoyede. And big story, Edo Goba poll results were manipulated, according to Yaga Africa. Rider there says PDP heads to court, says nation's democracy under threat. We lost to power of money bags buying votes, says Akbata. We will use Edo templates in Ondo and Anambra, Ganduje there, and Peter Obi describes outcome of Edo poll as state capture. EFCC, FEC, OK's committee to reassess Allow Dam and others across Nigeria, they say establishes disaster relief fund. Nigeria demands permanent security, Nigeria demands permanent security council seats for Africa. And then acting CJN wants heads of courts on conflicting rulings, ex parte orders. Construction of $3.5 billion Bakassi Seaport to begin soon. And flood-prone areas, federal government asks Benue, Adamawa, Taraba, and others to relocate residents.
Now still on the Daily Independent, reactions as to the manipulations of results from Yaga Africa has continually been reactions as they reacted, yesterday in a press statement, highlighting some of the observations they had from the election just on Saturday, as they also, PDP are still saying that we are heading to court and that democracy is under threat. When a party reacted just yesterday, we lost the power of money bags and buying votes. That is coming from the Labour Party gubernatorial candidate, Olumide Pata. I will use a Edo template in Ondo and Anambra. That's a reaction from APC. Peter will be describing the outcome of the Dopo as state capture. Part of that has continued to spark a whole lot of controversy in Edo. But the governor just yesterday earlier had called for calm among the Edo people. Let's get to the leadership newspaper. Big story from the leadership this morning. Kano state government having education. Again, Governor Abba Yusuf walks the talk. That's a story coming from the Kano. Then, still on the leadership, PDP LP rejects Edo election result. Damagun says it's assault on democracy, while Obi insists it's state capture. Claims by opposition, Maopi, APC. The poll failed integrity test, Yaga Africa. CDD demands trial of voters bias. That's it on the reaction of from the leadership newspaper. We'll go on a break, and once we return from the break, we'll be going in depth into the papers this morning and having proper analysis on the conversations and the stories we have from the Nigerian newspaper this morning. To stay with us on the program, we'll be right back.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Many thanks for staying with us. If you've just joined us, this is Global Morning here on Global Television, and we will be going back to our newspaper review, this time around with Professor Ibrahim Ado Abubakar, who is our in-house analyst. Good morning, Prof. It's a pleasure to have you this morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for being on the program. We'll be reacting to a couple of stories on the papers. First will be the Daily Sun, the Daily Independent for you. Big story on the Edo Goba election. We've seen reactions from various parties. Peter Obi, faction of the party, the Bata faction of the party, Labour Party, saying that saying that the election was marred with irregularities and was sold to the highest bidder. Peter Obi describing it as state capture, and we see the APC, the PDP, Aswe Godalo saying they will go to court. As a matter of fact, they're suing the APC for vote buying and all of that, and bidding and all of that, saying that they are the ones who are the actual winners of the election. And as always, every election, losers will go to court. After every elections, we see these things happen again. Let me get your reaction to these developments.
If you have studied the political climates in Nigeria mostly, every election ends in court and in disputes. And I wonder why it should always be so. Why the gladiators are always on the run for resolutions to ends in the judiciary. But as the case may be, I was feeling that it is like a sportsmanship where you say the winner goes and you prepare for another time. But just as I normally say that we don't have a political party, we have political platforms. Everybody runs independently. And you can't win after stressing yourself out. And when you lose this, you want to say no, you didn't lose because you work it out. But if we use it as a sportsmanship where you say the winner goes while you go and relax and rebuild yourself, I think that will have serve us better. But we are creating an image that was in the nearest time give us a lot of headache in the political environment.
Can you describe that image that we are creating?
Yeah, when something has become too pronounced to say, I must win, it becomes that what is your interest to say you must rule? It will get to a point where people will revolt against this kind of idea of I must rule.
So in this election now, who has portrayed that, that attribute of I must win and I must rule?
The two, let's leave Akpata alone on who is coming as a candidate of the Labour Party, but between PDP and APC, it was a fight between Opaseke and Adams Oshomole, who is more prominent, who is the father of the game in Edo State. I think that was what they were playing out.
Okay.
So it has become, if I am the governor and the sitting governor and it's not working into my direction, then I can give it out to the former governor. How can the former governor be more relevant to me, who is a sitting governor? I think that is what is playing out. And if that continue, it becomes a very big problem for a state, for the nation and the rest, because it will now make people to repeat that call of it is my turn, or I must follow this person in sequence. So that is just the whole thing, and it is not going to be so good because somebody played the role of the Godfather.
Now, do you see what's your take on the PDP now going to court suing the APC? Do you think that there's going to be any difference moving on?
There won't be any difference apart from some few interest group. They have never, since 1999 to today, there have never been any difference. What we all see is what goes on. And I think apart from some very, very few cases which has some interest group, I don't think there's any difference, because one, you have to come with who he will seek equity must come with clean hands. So what are the evidence?
The Olumide Akpata of the Labour Party has come out to say that he actually won the election. And, what was played out was, manipulations and all of that. How do you react to this statement from him, seeing the distance between his votes and that of the APC and the PDP?
Olumide Akpata is a lawyer. We know how the legal practitioners operate here in Nigeria. As Olumide, I feel, as a lawyer, will have come out with proof to say he won the election. So maybe he has a proof. I will not want to speak for him. Maybe he has a proof because he's a lawyer and he knows what it takes to go to the court. You can't just come to court without enough backing evidence to prove your case. But as a lawyer, I will not speak to him because I'm not one.
But if we were to have, if the figures were maybe slightly close, we would have said, maybe in some case. But how come we have such distant numbers, distant figures? I mean, 22,000 as opposed to 200 plus thousands for the other votes. And is it possible for your votes to be reduced or manipulated to such level?
I think where Olumide is getting it wrong is how popular has he been in Edo State? Who are his followers? Because it's one thing to say, I went wide to campaign. It's another thing for the people to also accept you as a candidate. So did the people accept him as a candidate? Because there is a different thing from the view of the body language, and there's another thing to the polls. So when you get to the polls, it's a different thing you see from what you see from the people around.
Well, let's move on to other newspaper now and look at the stories we have there. This time around, let's look at the Daily Sun and react to some of the stories. Big story on the Daily Sun says, FEC praises Edo Goba as PDP governors. Obi, alleged electoral haste. CDD, Yaga, score INEC low. Labour Party candidate alleged vote buying, falsification of results, and apathy. UNGA 79, Nigeria demands UN Security Council seat as governors seek investor support in energy sector. APC, I'll use Edo template to win Ondo. Anambra Goba polls. Ganduje, says Ganduje. We also have how we can achieve economic stability, Tinubu here. And then we also have Kogi Assembly demands EFCC chairman's sack over handling of Yaya Bello's case. Editors hold 2024 annual conference in Bayelsa in November. And then we also have federal government establishes disaster relief fund, seeks collective action against river pollution and flooding. I want us to react to the Kogi Assembly demanding EFCC chairman's sack over the handling of Yaya Bello's case in this regard. It's been the case between Yaya Bello and the EFCC has been ongoing for a while now, with the incumbent governor of Kogi State, Usman Ododo, being at his beck and call or being at his aid. We see all of this play out. How do you react to these developments?
Very good. To me, they are playing politics with that case, and it has gotten to a time where Nigerians has to say enough of the politics. I believe that to EFCC is a commission, and my view is that a commission is supposed to be an established body that stays with a maximum of 5 years and collapse back to its original bodies. Because a commission is supposed to address some areas, some special areas. After addressing those special areas, they collapse back to their main body. If not, you get it corrupted. Over the time, EFCC has been corrupted. Not only EFCC, as some of the agencies, because they don't have any fortune to play any longer than to get themselves corrupted. If the first chairman was sacked, the second one was sacked, the third one was sacked, the fourth one was sacked, and you are still keeping such agencies, then I don't know what people say. A lot of people will tell you that, but they engage some other people. They have created employment. Creating employment to the treatment of others is not enough for a nation. And what are their function to the nation? Because if you want to stop economic and financial crime in Nigeria, there must be a template. By now, I feel that we have gotten e-commerce, e-business, e-economy, e-finance, e-governance. So ICPC, EFCC, and those bodies, if they cannot create these templates for people to follow with policies, then they have not done the nation any favor or any good. And from the security perspective, how will you feel if you are managing a sector and the first managing director was sacked, the second, the third, the fourth, not just for any reasons of maladministration, for example. It is malpractices, mismanagement, corruption, and the rest. And so how can a corrupt person be fighting corruption? So, but be as it may, the call is okay. The call from the group is okay, but my own problem with Yahaya Bello's case is that the chairman has brought such propagandas before against the former Kogi State governor and the present governor, and now he calmed down and it is revising from the state government now against the body. So what kind of politics are these two bodies playing, the Kogi State government and the EFCC themselves? That is what we should look at, and that is what my takes in. We have to actually look at what is actually happening between these bodies, because we from the public, we are looking at it from different angle. I personally am looking at it from the different angle that it is okay, accuse me this way, when at a time I will come and accuse you this way. Till we play the politics, then there will be no stability, and we take the people to their weights.
You know, Prof, you made mention of how porous the system of the EFCC is, and then you talking about how the previous chairman of this commission has been sacked, and now you are wondering why such agencies should be kept. Are you saying that the EFCC as an agency should be scrapped out?
Very well. They are long overdue. Long overdue if we want to go into detailing. EFCC, ICPC are long overdue to be scrapped out. Not only them, you can. This is a country that has so many commissions, which I call commission agents, who has no function at all.
But following, crimes, the rate of crimes and, all that we see, particularly here in our country, don't you think that we need an agency as the EFCC? If we scrap out the agency, these agencies, how are we able to, apprehend those who have been accused of looting, accused of, mismanagement of public funds and all of that? How do we now begin to, address these issues? Quite frankly, the system might be porous, but we must not take away the fact that they've also been, to an extent, been able to apprehend certain individuals who have been involved in financial crimes. So if we scrap out this system, how do we begin to, manage these issues?
The issues were managed before the commissions were formed. And I've said it here that by now, EFCC and ICPC will have been able to create e-commerce, e-business, e-economic, e-finance, e-governance.
Are we ready?
So if they cannot, that means they are not competent. There should be collapse to go back to their bodies, their parents' body. The parents' body was police. Police were doing all this job before. So we are having a situation where we are 100% backward. And when we are 100% backward, and you are now drawing us down to 200 or 300% backward, then we are not doing anything. We are supposed to be advanced. And when we are not advancing, then everybody take due advantage of us. If you look at all the crimes put together, how many percentage of them are being perpetuated by Nigerians?
Well said, Prof.
So what are we doing by the foreign contributors? So this is the problem we have. So what is happening in the cyber space? So if you don't have the technology and you don't know the know-how, why are you operating?
Rightly said, but we must not take away the fact that not only is the EFCC not having the cyber know-how or cyber space, but a lot of sectors as well. Are we even ready to talk about the cyber space here in Nigeria before talking about, the EFCC and other commissions utilizing the cyber space?
You cannot manage what you don't know.
Absolutely. This conversation will continue after the AM News, the global AM News, which will come to you now. After this break, we will continue with our newspaper review. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Hello and welcome to all the viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Air News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. Vice President Kashim Shettima arrived New York to represent Nigeria at the 79th United Nations General Assembly. The Senior Special Assistant to the President and Media and Communications Standing Watcher made this known in a statement. On arrival, the Vice President was received by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, and Minister of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani. The Independent National Electoral Commission announced the governorship candidate of the APC, Senator Monday Abubakar of Edo 2024 governorship election, having polled the highest number of votes cast of 291,667. A correspondent who reported from Benin City, Anthony Modu, brings us more.
Former governor of Edo State residents in the person of Senator Adams Oshomole, where the APC chieftains alongside the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, Deputy Governor of Edo State Philip Shuaibu, the Minister of Niger Delta Abubakar Momo, and other chieftains of the APC are gathered in solidarity to celebrate what will become a historic win of the Edo 2024 governorship election by Senator Monday Okpeholo against his Labour and PDP rivals. And it's expected that the chieftains are eagerly waiting for INEC to make the final pronouncement of the winner of the polls for celebrations to kickstart in full effect. All right, it's victory song for the All Progressive Congress as INEC has officially announced and declared Senator Monday Okpeholo as the executive governor of Edo State, having beaten other rival parties in Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party to the top seat at the Dennis Osadebe Avenue right here in Benin City. So officially, Senator Monday Okpeholo is the executive governor of Edo State. This is Anthony Momodu reporting from the residence of Senator Adams Oshomole, former governor of the state, where other APC chieftains, including the Senate President Godswill Akpabio and the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shuaibu, the Minister of Niger Delta, Abubakar Momo, and other chieftains are gathered in the residence of the former governor of Edo State, Adams Oshomole, and party faithful celebrating the historic win of Monday Okpeholo as the executive governor of Edo State.
God has made it come to pass, and we cannot do anything but praise God for making it and to thank Edo because we are moving to an era where Edo State.
And now the President of Economic Community of West African State Commission, Omar Torre, has emphasized the need for tangible action and long-standing commitment to global peace and development. Torre spoke at the summit of the future at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. He commended the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres for convening the summit, noting its importance at a time when the world faces pivotal choices. Mohamed Badru, Nigeria's Minister of Defense, says Nigeria has earned the right to become a member of the United Nations Security Council after contributing to 41 peacekeeping missions, deploying over 200,000 troops. Badru made this known in his address at the Summit of the Future Interactive Dialogue, with title Enhancing Multi-Terrorism to International Peace and Security in New York. Badru also spoke with the State House correspondent at the Nigerian House in New York, said Nigeria had a long-standing commitment to international peace and security. The Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barrow Jibril, has held the victory of All Progressive Congress in the recent governorship election in Edo State, describing it as a vote of confidence on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Senator Barrow, who is also the first Deputy Speaker of ECOWAS Parliament, noted that the people's remains the most important force in any democracy. Senator Barrow, in a statement by Special Advisor on Media and Publicity Ismaila Ahmad-Rashid, commended the Independent National Electoral Commission for upholding the people's will as expressed by their vote. The governor-elect of Edo State, Monday Okpebholo, has promised to bring the South-South state to an enviable height when he assumes office. The Independent National Electoral Commission has declared Okpebholo the governorship candidate of the APC, the winner of the keenly contested election. He polled 291,667 votes to defeat Azui Gadalo of the People's Democratic Party, who secured 247,274, and Olumide Akpata of the Labour Party, who came a distant third with 22,761 votes. Addressing reporters after he was declared winner of the governorship election, Okpebholo appreciated the people of the state for choosing the right person to govern them for the next 4 years. And on to local government matters. The chairman of Ogun State Independent Electoral Commission, Babatunde Osibadu, says over 15,000 ad hoc staff will be engaged for the forthcoming local government elections scheduled to be held on Saturday, November 16, 2024. Osibadu disclosed this in a statement made available to journalists by the Commission's press officer, Damila Akindele. The chairman was quoted to have said that the temporary personnel to be recruited have crucial roles at ensuring voters are verified on time, the ballot boxes well positioned and distributed, as well as ensure result collision after the voting exercise. The United States has stepped up to provide critical humanitarian aid to thousands of victims affected by the devastating floods in Maiduguri and other parts of Borno State. The severe flooding that occurred on September 10, 2024 has led to the loss of lives, the widespread destruction of properties, and the displacement of countless families. This was revealed in a statement made available to journalists on Monday from the United States Embassy in Abuja. Meanwhile, the United States Mission in Nigeria has issued a comprehensive guide to assist African-American citizens residing in Nigeria in voting in the upcoming November 5, 2024 election. In a statement shared by the mission on its X handle, it outlined the steps U.S. citizens must take to ensure their vote are counted. The U.S. mission advised citizens to complete these steps promptly to avoid delay that could affect their ability to participate in the election. Now to party affairs, Justice Ian Akwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja dismissed a suit seeking the removal of Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje as the national chairman of All Progressive Congress. In his judgment, he agreed with the preliminary objection of the second defendant, who prayed the court to strike out the suit on the grounds that the claimant does not have the required legal standing to institute the suit. The judge also agreed with the preliminary objection of the third defendant, who argued that the name the claimant had sued in the Northern Central APC Forum is not a registered body. Students and staff members of Federal University in Gusau in Zamfara State, who were kidnapped by bandits, have regained their freedom after 7 months in captivity. The victims were reportedly kidnapped during an attack in Gusau area in February this year. Security analyst and counter-insurgency expert Zangazula Makaman confirmed the release in a report via the X handle. A Pan-African group, Africa Vision 525 Initiative, says it is partnering with the federal government to boost the use of science and technology among youth and also instill African culture in their day-to-day activities. The event, organized by the group, presented a simulation of the African Union Assembly as part of events to celebrate Nigeria at 64. The chief trainer for African Vision 525 Initiative, Okola Okoli, stated that the initiative trains secondary schools in the Federal Capital Territory as part of ways of preparing them for future and leadership position and maintain the tradition of training future African leaders. You're watching the AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When AM News returns, Nigeria beats Tanzania in Under-19 Cricket World Cup qualifiers opener. Details of these and more after this short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us on AM News. And now to business. The crude oil refiners have said with the right interventions by the federal government, the pump price of petrol produced by Dangote Petroleum Refinery may crash below 600 naira per litre. The Public Secretary of the Crude Oil Refiners Association of Nigeria, Eche Idoke, said in an interview that the association still has a strong belief that local refineries like Dangote and others can bring down the cost of petrol. It also said the 898 naira to a litre claimed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited as the price it bought petrol from Dangote reflected the rising exchange rate. And our most Asian market rose Monday, building on last week's rally following the Federal Reserve's bumper interest rate cut, while sentiment was also boosted by hopes for fresh measures to kickstart China's economy. Also, oil prices edged up on worries about an escalation of the conflict in the Middle East after Lebanon-based Hezbollah launched dozens of rockets at Israel, with both sides threatening to ramp up hostilities. The trade has greeted the first reduction in borrowing costs since 2020 by pushing the S&P 500 to a record high as they contemplated a soft landing for the world's top economy. While China warned the United States not to take discriminatory actions against its firms following the report Washington is planning to ban the sale of vehicles using Chinese and Russian technology. It was reported, citing sources, that the United States was mulling new rules that will ban the hardware and software made in China from its vehicles. Asked about the report, Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian said China urged the U.S. to respect market principles and provide an open, fair, transparent and non-discriminatory business environment for Chinese enterprises. And more on the foreign scene, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has reduced the number of tour operators to participate in the 2025 Hajj to 20 from the 40 that participated in the 2024 Hajj. The Outcomes Commissioner Operations Prince Anofi made the disclosure during a meeting with members of private tour operators. He also stated that the Commission paid out 695 million naira refund to 139 tour operators from their caution deposit for the 2023 Hajj due to lack of complaint from their pilgrims. China has urged its citizens in Israel to leave as soon as possible as tensions between Israel and Lebanon's Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah escalate. Currently, the situation along the Israel-Lebanon border is extremely tense with frequent military conflict, and China's embassy in Israel said in a statement. Israel and Hezbollah threatened on Sunday to escalate their cross-border attacks despite international calls for both sides to step back from the brink of all war. Our police says it has at least 4 people have been killed and dozens injured in a mass shooting in Birmingham, Alabama. A police officer says multiple shooters fired multiple shots on a group of people late on Saturday in the 5 Points South area of the city of Birmingham. The police found the bodies of 2 men and 1 woman at the scene, and a 4th victim died of bullet wounds in the hospital. Detectives are investigating whether the gunmen walked up to the victims or drove by. However, no suspects have been arrested. And now to sports. Nigeria's women under-19 team, the Junior Female Yellow Greens, began their 2025 Women's Under-20 World Cup qualifiers with the Flying Stars beating Tanzania by 4 wickets in Kigali, Rwanda. Lilian Ude was the biggest performer for Nigeria, grabbing 5 wickets to power Nigeria to a confidence-boosting win in their group. And Nigeria captain Lucky Piety lost the toes and the Tanzanians elected to bat first, but that was the only win the East African will claim as Nigeria ran the show in the first innings with some spectacular bowling. Nigeria made a remarkable entry on the global fencing scene during the weekend thanks to the impressive performance of 16-year-old Nkosi Bro, who won the country's first ever medal in the sabre category at the World Tornado Satellite Cup in Iceland. The world number 67 ranked fencer clinched a silver medal after he had fought 9-15 victory against the Ireland's Andrew, seeded number 5 for the event. The Bull began his campaign in the round of 16, defeating Germany's Maxim Dewitt 15-9. And that's the package on AM News coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on DSTV, channel 365, start times 276. I'm free to air on Nicomsat. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now shown on the screen. Very shortly, Queen Gaba continues with the newspaper reviews. Stick around with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Thank you for staying with us. Thank you, Michael Edikan, for bringing us the Global AM News. It's time for us to continue with the papers this morning. And this time around, we will be looking at the Guardian newspaper. Big story on the Guardian says, non-profit businesses amid low impact, over 174,000 new NGOs established in 4 years. And then we have here, after Edo APC vows to clinch Ondo, Anambra and Rivers. FEC OK's plan to strengthen national value system in schools. And UNGA, Nigeria demands Security Council seat. Parties, CSO seek INEC's review of Edo governorship election results. EFCC, ICPC accuse lawmakers of executing constituency projects through proxies. Ministries of Finance budgets mum over allegations of project duplications. High exchange rates spikes price of cooking gas by 69.15% in 1 year. Nigerians spent 1.4 trillion naira on epileptic power. Discos owed 385 billion naira. A whole lot of reactions and stories here on the Guardian newspaper. But first of all, let's react to the emergence of more non-governmental organizations amid low impact. We still have over 174,000 100 new NGOs established in 4 years. How efficient, how effective, has NGOs been over the years, and why do we see an emergence of more NGOs despite all that is happening?
I am deviating from politics into security. If when you see over 170 something thousand NGOs within 4 years being established or be registered, then you are supposed to look at it properly. Why these solid sparks of NGOs? And all over the world, apart from Nigeria, all over the world, you'll find out that NGOs are just pipelines to financial malpractices. So they are routes to funds, both mostly illegal acquired funds. So it's not a surprise to people like us, but it is not a good one, because you now find out that there is no monitoring, there is no evaluation, there is no registration processes before most of these entities have been registered. And it is something of concern unless the government don't want to look at it. At a point when there is something we were discussing on this studio, and I said, if we are talking of instituency, if we remove MacArthur Foundation, we remove Ford Foundation, we remove Bill Clinton and Melinda Foundation, Nigeria will have some relative peace. And these are the things that we should look at. Why the sudden springs of NGOs? Are it actually on humanitarian ground, or there is some other tunes? There are so many other tunes to it. I will not want to deviate all in the studio, but there is a lot of other tunes, and that's why I said the EFCC, the ICPC, and all of them are not doing their job. They are supposed to create some platforms in which people have to key into to certainly stop this kind of trade. But the trade is already there, and the reversal effect is what we are feeling economically.
But on a closer look, don't you think that with the economic hardship and some of the disasters that have happened in recent times, mostly, say, in the last 4 years, actually, talk about insecurity, insurgency, flooding. The most recent would be the flooding in Borno State, where an entire state was submerged by a flood. Don't you think that it calls for, it's actually a need or a call for even these NGOs to spring up, to begin to react to, or begin to come in and help mitigate the adverse effects of these hardship and circumstances?
You are talking of mitigating the adverse effect of circumstances before the NGOs. How do we manage our crisis? We have a way of managing the crisis. So if NEMA is there, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs is there, we have some other agencies there. The NGOs, how do they get their finances? Has anybody asked those questions? Are the finances their own personal finances? Who is investing in them? And this is non-governmental agencies. And if they are registered, you are not just talking of 1,000 NGOs. We are talking of 174,000 plus. So were they NGOs before this time? So when you put them together, the resources they have put together, can they build industries? Would they have been able to go into the productive sector or the industrial sectors? So it's just a conduit pie to other vices. That is just the take. Because we don't even have 174 industries in Nigeria that are operational. So why so many NGOs? So we are not looking at it properly. When we come, we just say NGOs. We are not ready to, you don't audit the books of NGOs. You don't look into their affairs so much because it's non-governmental. So who are the people responsible for all these NGOs? Where are they managing? Who is managing them? And to whose benefit?
What are the criteria before they are registered, duly registered?
Yes.
As an
So who is actually monitoring them? So if I say I have an NGO and I have 1 billion naira, for example, in the account of the NGOs, and nobody knows where that 1 billion come from, and there's crisis in Maiduguri, and I just buy blankets and of 1 million naira to go and give. What happens to the remaining 999 millions that are remaining in the account? So these are the things that nobody is asking. Nobody. So we have to have a policy framework that guides this. And who is going to implement the policy framework? Because we have a lot of policies, but no implementation. Nobody monitor. There's no evaluation.
Okay, let's react to this story of this development about the exchange rates spiking the price of cooking gas to 69.15% in 1 year. I think someone made a comment online on Twitter where the person was talking about 9 kg of cooking gas going for about 15,000 or thereabouts. And we see this surge and how much things have increased. How do you look at this development, particularly for essentials, food items, gas, cooking gas, and all of that?
Sometimes it shocked me because we have the LNG, the Nigerian liquefied natural gas, and we have the Nigerian compressed gas, and we have the Nigerian gas company, which is located in Warri. So when these people come and tell me exchange rate, what has exchange rate got to do with this commodity? Because you are not importing this gas. If you are importing and you are talking of exchange rate, everybody will understand. But something that you are actually producing here in Nigeria, and you are talking of exchange rate, it shocks me. If they say the market is volatile, I will agree with the market being volatile because of saying, okay, we use cylinders here, we are not using piping system for gas. So if we are using cylinder, what is the cost of a cylinder? What is the cost of transportation to the market and the others? People will understand these logistic issues. But when it comes to a situation where you are not telling the people that it is the cost of exchange rate that makes you have the prices, then it is something that I would say, no, he never runs that way. But be as it may, we also have to look at it critically. Are we supposed to buy liquefied petroleum gas at that rate? And the answer is totally no. There is some market trade that is happening, and there are some middle people that are actually bringing this price to this extent. That is just what it is.
So we should be looking at regulation and also dealing with these middlemen who are, of course, between the suppliers and the end users or retailers.
You see, what is happening here is that you have a mini plant. The mini plant processes this gas into cylinders. The owners of this mini plant goes to the regulators to get a license. the whole process of getting a license for this mini plant is very, very cumbersome. So, by the time you are licensed, by the time you develop your mini plant, by the time the equipments arrive here, by the time they assess the equipments and the testing process and everything, you have spent 10 times what it will have cost you just ordinarily to have a plant. If we have removed these bottlenecks, then it makes it more easier for the ordinary man to say, this is what I have done over time. But we are not ready to remove these bottlenecks because of our personal interest. A permit will just cost, let me say, 10,000 naira, and the other people who are supposed to go through the process will say, unless you bring 100,000. That is just what is just killing the system.
Mm-hmm. Now let's react to other stories, Prof. Thank you for your analysis. The Punch this time around, let's look at the front page of the Punch. We have why federal governments must end petrol subsidy now, according to Dangote here. And it says, FEC plans fuel tankers pack for Dangote refinery to tackle congestion. Congestion is one thing that we don't even talk about enough. And then particularly because I was on the road a couple of weeks ago and I know how much tankers cost, how much traffic these tankers cost, and because of our dilapidated roads as well, you find out that a journey that is supposed to be, say, 4 hours, you're spending 8 hours because these tankers have, congested. We have this congestion on our roads, heavy traffic, and because these are heavy trucks, you find out that some roads that have been renovated, some roads that have been newly built are beginning to have, holes, and because of the weight of these trucks causing congestion on our roads, and making the roads to quickly begin to develop issues. We know that while roads should be properly built, but these heavy trucks, these heavyweight trucks, I think, do you think in the line of FEC planning to, create parks for these tankers, aside moving, I think, how do we even begin to look at congestion on our roads, first of all, because these trucks are packed, they are moving on our roads, they are destroying the roads, and they are also packed on highways, somewhere around, creating traffic. How do you react to this development, and what do we do? What do we begin to look at moving forward?
Well, the first thing is our highway designs. What do we take into consideration? What is the flow? Have we coupled the flows? If you go to a place like Aviele, for example, in Edo, and we have another place like Lokoja, where these trucks and other places, you find out that by now on the designs we are supposed to have a disembankment when they get there, because they are mostly their resting locations or rare and the rest. So you are supposed to have a disembankment where they have to park during the night, and we are supposed to also make sure that their movement has some certain hours. Are they supposed to move from 6 to 6 in the morning, then park, or they are supposed to move during the day and on their movement? So if there is a regulation which says, okay, tankers should move in the night, then when it is 6 o'clock or 7 a.m., they have a specific place they park. Or we have a design and have special lane for them, which should be their transit lane. But these are not there. So you really don't blame the tanker drivers, because the point where they are parking, if you get there, you find out that the normal road safety officer is not there. The normal so-called VIO are not there. The police are not there. The traffic warden are not there. So it is just a crowded area where nobody manages. So, but you still see the same people on the highway harassing innocent travelers because they feel the tanker drivers will not give them what they want. They are carrying goods that everybody knows they are carrying. So you find out that the same people are harassing innocent regular users, road users, and forgetting their main core duties. There is a lot to be done on these areas, and there are a lot of revenues to be generated from these areas, but they are not after the revenues to be generated, they are after how much they can make for themselves. And that is the generality of the whole issue.
Thank you, Prof. Let's look at this story from the Punch. We have pro-Fubara LG caretaker chairman dump PDP for APP. Big story on the Punch. PDP demands fresh allocation as Labour Party Akpata alleges fraud. INEC must abide by Section 65 Electoral Act 2022. Damagun poll was a transaction, not election. Yes, poll was a transaction, not election. Labour Party, says Labour Party. And litigation claims against 6 banks near 2 trillion naira. Police probe alleged killing of 3 by Lagos teenage driver. And then we have passengers panic as plane windshield breaks in Abuja. We saw that story there. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Let's look at, and then one more story on the Punch, which says National Assembly resumes today, demands 2025 budget for 2025. But let's look at the budget for 2024 and how far, these allocations have come and the method to which allocations are attributed, and your take as regards this budget planning.
Well, budget actually is not money already is set aside for anybody. It's just this is what we wish to do for the year. It is like anybody that wakes up and said I was to do a New Year's resolution on 1st of January. But be as it may, monies were appropriated, and this appropriation monies that were appropriated, did they follow the appropriation guidelines? That's supposed to be our major concern. Are they being used appropriately? Because we have seen sequences where a lot of people just come up and say, year 1, so amount was earmarked for so project. Year 2, so amount was earmarked for so project. And you find out that for the next 10 years, that project did not see the light of the day. And nobody asks what has happened to that appropriation. And we have the Ministry of Budget and National Planning. So you find out that what has been the duty of these national planners? What have they done to monitor the budget? Are they exercising anything out of it? Were they giving room to actually monitor the project, or they just sit down in the office and give a pass mark? So in such doing, we have a problem, because national planning is supposed to be a long-term thing. It's not just short term. So if you are planning, are you planning for long term or you are planning for short term or medium term? Because it depends on the government of the day. So what are the policies of the government of the day? So when you say you want the budget, which is the 2025 budget, good enough, the president has to wake up with the Federal Executive Council, prepare, do the paperwork, and submit to the National Assembly, which is a normal legal framework, and look into it deeply, and now exercise their franchise for the president to endorse for 2025. So the rule of, I don't know if the rule of the Ministry of National Planning, which is supposed to coordinate the budget, that is Ministry of Budget and National Planning, which is supposed to coordinate the budget of the year, is actually overriding, or it is downplayed, or it is not being done at all. That I would not say from this perspective.
All right, thank you, Prof. Let's look at the New Telegraph now. Stories on the New Telegraph says CIT banks record profits boost payments by 42.6% to 455.98 billion naira right there. Other stories, previous administration never thought it wise to develop FCT satellite towns, according to Wike, as FEC approves Maitama 2 and others development OK's 40 houses for judges. Recurring building collapse, monumental economic loss to nation's GDP growth. We also have court dismisses suit seeking Ganduje's sack as APC chair. And Prof, you want to react to that story, because I see you chuckle a bit as to this story where the court is dismissing the suit seeking Ganduje's sack as APC chair.
When you say you are going to court for Ganduje's sack, there is a national working committee, and there is also the neck of every party. There is no national convention for now to say, okay, we'll have a national convention and agreed on how the chairman of a party or his executives should now be replaced, and a vote or maybe another leadership, let me put it, election again taking place to. So you cannot just go to court or go to anywhere and say that I don't want this person as a chairman of the party, because he did not make himself a chairman. It was a collective thing. There was a convention. There was a vote. There was a poll that took place. So I wonder when sometimes people just stand up and said, I want that person out of office. I am going to court and challenge it. If he has any case to answer anywhere, let's say in Kano or anywhere, he was a former governor, that is not enough for him to be relieved of his office till proven guilty. These are the mistakes we make most of the time. We just say, okay, this man has to step aside. When you now say this man has to step aside, then you find out that at the end of the day, the same person is not found guilty, who wants to return back to his main position. So what happens? We have so many states now. We started this TRASIS program on May 29, 1999. You see, like Edo State, because of such issues, they are conducting an election that's supposed to have taken place last year, this year. Also Ondo, also Anambra, and other states like Ekiti. So, is it supposed to be is this supposed to be so? No. But there are lapses. And if we don't close these gaps now, that's why I said before that it's going to cost us a lot. Even in our educational sector, before, if university is going to close for the session, everybody knows that by June, July, you're already at home. And everybody knows that by September or so, you are resuming. But now, you resume, other people are in school, and that is the period they use to initiate these other students into all court practices, because everybody is not in school. So when this group are in session and the other group are not in session, those who are not in session comes back to initiate those who are in session.
Thank you, Prof. Let's look at this story, these other stories, as we wrap up on the New Telegraph. It says federal government approves National Citizens Value Brigade in schools. National symbols standardization. A big story, flooding. FEC sets up committee to reassess Alao Dam and others. Floats disaster relief fund. Rider there says governor advises residents of flood-prone areas to leave as River Benue water level rises to 0.9 meters. U.S. offers support to 67,000 flood victims in Borno as EU okays 5.4 million euros aid to victims in Nigeria and 4 other countries here. And then we also have Edo Goba will test judiciary's preparedness, says PDP, calls on INEC to review results. Poll, an example of state capture. Peter Obi there, results manipulated, Yaga Africa alleges. And then we did everything to win Edo election, APC right there. FEC and others congratulate Okpebolo, Lord Tinubu for commitment to electoral process. And lastly, on the New Telegraph, not lastly, we have quite some stories here. 79th Onga, Nigeria demands permanent Security Council seat for Africa. Once Africans stand by force operationalized. Vote buying, no end in sight to cankerworm. Monkeys save, 6 years old from sexual assault. MBS, diesel price rose by 64.58% in 1 year. And National Assembly plans joint probe of economic sabotage in petroleum sectors. There are stories here that we should react to. First of all, let's look at the committee set up by Federal Executive Council to reassess the Alao Dam that obviously caused flooding in Maiduguri, the recent flood in Maiduguri, and now the warnings to other states that are flood prone, like Benue State particularly, as we see here now that the water levels, River Niger, River Benue has risen to 0.9%. How do we begin to, because these issues, the issues of flooding particularly, is not new. Every year there are cases of flood, there are forecasts of flood. What are we doing now that we're not doing differently? What is it that we need to do differently this time around? Because it's one thing for us to talk about flood and the aftermath, or when the flood comes, we now begin to hear warnings of these floods. Should there have been warnings earlier, saying, from now we're looking at flooding next year? How do we ensure that there's never a reoccurrence? How do we ensure that people do not build or mount tents around riverine areas? What should FEC be doing differently, and other agencies that are relevant to this issue of flooding in Nigeria?
Very good. The reassessment of Alao Dam, setting up a committee by FEC, to me, I think in my last discussion here, we had it that a dam spill are supposed to be checked every year. An integrity test has to be done every 5 years on a dam if we want to follow educational engineering policies. These are not done. This dam has been there for over 40 years. I don't know if they budget anything for such every year in the dams. And the moment you are not penalizing anybody for neglect, then there is no need setting up the committee. They know who to penalize. They know. And if they are not doing that, it means we're in trouble. Then when we are talking of flooding, how many times has these regulatory bodies and all these bodies gone through the flood-prone areas and sensitized the people? Nobody is ready to sensitize anybody. What we do is sanitizing. And when you cannot sanitize people without sensitizing them. The whole of Benue in 1988 to 1989, the whole of the places we call the Agatu area down to the Domas area, like from Oweto, Ogule, and the rest, they were all very, very, you can't pass them. They were unpassable. In 1988, I was there for a research process. So when then other areas, when you come to Kogi, you come into Okatibo, Ete, coming down to Girinya, Budo. Then other areas like that to Baro, people don't, even if, as I'm speaking now, I'm very sure that most of those people who are supposed to take responsibilities don't even know these areas. They don't know them. They just sit down in their office. We have hydrological surveyors, we have meteorological officers, we have all of them sitting down in an office and bringing just paperwork every day. It's not paperwork. They have to be in the field. They have to receive data. I don't know if they have a radar system to measure what is going to happen in their data. I don't think so. I don't think they have anyone. So we are living in what we call sitting down on a keg of gunpowder, feeling that it will not explode any day, any soon. And it's not going to be my problem. After all, I am on the upper side of the Niger, of the Benue, or I'm on the very lower side, and it's not going to affect me. So, since it's not going to affect you because you are sitting down in Abuja here, do you have relations? Do you have friends all over the country that they are going to affect? So what do you build on? So we need to first of all start sensitizing the people, giving them a new orientation of these areas that are prone to flooding. Then we also have to come back with the techniques and technology to contain this not to happen again.
Thank you, Prof. Let's look at the Daily Times now. Big story still on PDP rejecting Edo governorship election results, threatening court action. We all have flooding. FEC set up technical committee to review all existing dams in Nigeria. Okay, this time not just the Alao Dam. And also, the Interior Minister is saying that we're changing the narratives without compromising national security. This is going to be our last take for this newspaper review. But let's look at the issue of security in Nigeria and this statement from the Interior Minister. How do we take, for instance, the issue of security here in Nigeria, the issues, when we talk about security here, we know most of the reasons why we have the exodus of multinationals and other businesses, other existing businesses from Nigeria would first of all be because they are worried about the security of their businesses, security of lives of their employees and the life of the business as a whole. Looking at Nigeria's security architecture now, do you think that we are making any headway?
Well, for now, let me speak of now. I'm not speaking of tomorrow. I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow, but for now, from my professional angle, we are not moving anywhere security to protect our security images. And if there is no foreign investor that will come to Nigeria to invest with the way we are going, or the way we are already today. And again, even indigenous investors are not ready to invest. We have people who prefer today to put their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 billion in fixed deposit account than putting them into a business, because they are not sure of what is going to happen the next minute. They rather put it in a fixed deposit account where the banks give them maybe 10% every year than putting it in an investment they feel is not secured. It's very, very few people who, maybe because of they have some backing in the present government, that wants to go into such investment. But re-investors would rather not invest in any industrial or business sector where, and that is a risk, because a lot of people who have worked in these industries can't get a job. They can't get a job because they don't want to, because the investors don't want to risk it. The business and economic climate is very volatile for now for investors to come in. So when they are talking of insecurity from the internal affairs, what has it done as the Minister of Internal Affairs or Interior to control inflow into the country of intruders? What has it done on border management? What has it done of identifications of foreigners and Nigerians? What have it done on human tracking? There is a lot of things that he has not done. So telling us that there is a way out to it, no. I don't see it for now.
We really can't tell what he has up on his sleeves. But Prof, this issue of security is not one that we can exhaust in a sitting, the topic of security in Nigeria. But we will be going on a break now. We'll take a quick break now. That's how much time will permit us to take on the newspaper review this morning. After this break, Michael Edigan will be here to walk us through topical issues still happening in Nigeria. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in
for insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective. I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television, getting on the action I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning Team.